So just over 5 years ago, I sold everything, including my house and all my material belongings, and I lived in my car, the car I'm in now. Pretty much everything that I own was in this car and pretty much still is in this car, even though I bought a home base recently. And through that experience of willingly, but not easily, separating myself from materialistic things and even the security of having a place to go back to, even though that presented challenges and they're real challenges, it's not just upside when you live with little to nothing because you have somewhat less resources. But it's a reminder and it's a great asset when you have learned to live with nothing. You're a survivor. And there's strength in understanding that you have actually lived with pretty much nothing. And it should keep you away from fear of losing everything. Because there is a real fear of not having enough money, of getting laid off, of bad times. And those are all real things, but you shouldn't live in worst case scenarios. You should plan, but you should look forward with hopeful expectation. And I'm sharing that because I was reflecting that, I still kind of have nothing to lose. Okay? And I want you to kind of feel that. I remember Steve Jobs said, no matter who you are, rich or poor, no matter where you're from, we're all going to die. So you're already naked, so get over it. I remember watching a movie. It was like about the Cleveland Indians, a baseball team, and they were this real bad baseball team. And it was like kind of a comedy, but the owner of the team was a female who inherited the team. And she took over the team and she went into the locker room to talk to the team. And the old coach, the old man who was the head coach, he was naked. And when she came in the locker room, all the young players went and they hid behind the lockers or their towels. And the old man, the coach, just stood there naked. And the owner, the female, said to the coach, "Aren't you going to go behind a locker or hide yourself?" He goes, "I'm too old to care." There's liberty in being old and having a mindset of, I've been through it already. I don't fear. And I know that I'm capable of dealing with having nothing. Now, in a first world country, you have to work damn hard to have nothing. Because if you're physically or mentally disabled, you have some type of subsidy. It could be a challenging getting those things, but you could get them. And if you're watching this, you're coherent, or else you wouldn't be watching this. And so don't talk down to yourself. Don't live below your potential. Live below your means, not your potential. But I want to share with you in life, sometimes when I start to have fear overtake my realist understanding of my situation as well as my proper planning, there should be some calculation for risk and emergency, but there should also be calculation for stable savings, for proper planning, and for hopeful expectation through all those things. So I want to share with you that when I have a moment of fear and it's overcoming, it's becoming a higher proportion than my planning and than my hope, then I say this is out of balance. It's just like if you had all hope, but you didn't do the work. So I'm not talking about have hopeful expectation if you're not planning, doing the work, and doing what you need to do for your life, and you know what that is, whatever it is for your situation. So when you start to live in fear, it's like you start to, if you looked at the opposite way, if you say, well, I'm going to be a millionaire, I'm going to be successful, and you do nothing, that's delusion. But if you live in fear, but you also too much, and you don't calculate for your planning, your savings, your multiple hustles, your knowledge, your career experience, then you start to just live in fear. That's delusion too. Don't live in fear. If you're spiritual, you don't have to be, but I want to share this with you because I use spirituality as a foundational resource, not in delusion, but as a resource, not to convert you, but to share with you. There's parts in the Bible that warn us not to live in fear. Okay, that we shouldn't be fearful, but instead we should have a sound mind, be bold and confident. See, I've met people that have spirituality, but they live in fear. I say, you have no spirituality. They're always thinking about, end of the world. Bill Gates is going to come vaccine them or whatever. I mean, God forbid. I love you. All right, so let's stay positive. But I want to share with you, after I get through all these layers of dissecting life, I say to myself, man, you get a certain amount to eat and drink per day. Clothes, especially as you become older, like that old coach, who cares about your cosmetics? I mean, unless you're that type of person. But, I could dress nicer. I choose not to. I used to dress real nice. I used to have Versace, jewelry, all that. Luxury cars. And I just willingly don't want to do it anymore. But if you want to do that, there's nothing wrong with that. But I want to share with you, for me, I said to myself, remember, Sam, you survived having nothing. And even right now, I choose to not have much. But sometimes I still fear not having enough. And that's what this message is. All the things I just shared with you is I don't want you to live in fear of not having enough. If you're doing what you need to do, whatever it is for your situation, I can't break down every situation. If you're doing what you need to do, you shouldn't be living in fear. You should be living in excitement and joy and passion. And manage your time. And yes, risk is real. Calculate for risk. But don't live in fear. And I can tell you from my experience, not my theory. I've lived with abundance. I've lived with nothing. I've been laid off. I've been promoted. I've been obese. I've been almost anorexic. I've been a lot of things. Okay? And I could share with you from experience, not from theory. Is that in a first world country, if you take care of yourself, if you have a sound mind, sound body, and remember, if you claim not to have a sound mind, and not to have a sound body, that means someone else controls your life because you can't control it. You can't have it both ways. You can't be disabled and enabled to be independent. You can't have both. That should wake you up if you're on the borderline. But if you have a real disability, you should get help. Because I don't mock that. There's a real need out there. I understand that. But do the work. Don't just apply. Go see a therapist regularly. Go to physical therapy, mental therapy. You got to do the work. If you're not doing the work, I have empathy because I realize how hard life is. As I get older, I get it. But I got to share with you. You got to do what you got to do. I didn't create the world. I can't be responsible for it, I tell you. But I want to share with you. Back to what I want to share with you. If you're living in fear, remember, plan, have your savings account, have your side hustles. Remember, a body in motion stays in motion. Someone working is better than someone not working. If you get laid off, do something. Don't just, the longer you're idle, the longer it takes to get back into the workforce. The longer you stay out of the gym, the harder it is to get back in the gym. Stay focused. As the sun beats, I got to go for a walk. I want to share this video in hope, in realism, not in delusion, in fairness, in boldness, but with empathy. Click the thumbs up, share the video, and wisely live in hope of great abundance. And if you fall, you get back up. And if you got to eat out of a can, accept the next DoorDash delivery, even if it's $2. Because I tell you right now, if you're eating out of a can and you're denying DoorDash deliveries, there's something wrong. You say, well, I can't afford to do the DoorDash. You can't afford to just sit. A body in motion stays in motion. The bag, I want to tell you guys everything. Don't live in fear. I love you.